Hey everyone, how are you? I'm the Dr. Bob Lee. Welcome to Open BX RX. We have another fantastic show lined up for you today. Coming up on today's show, we'll hear from a brand creative digital health influencer about his latest marketing initiative and highlight his documentary. Then we'll check in with a cancer survivor who has advice for other women on the importance of early screenings. After that, we'll reflect on a day that we'll never forget in our country's history by speaking with a former firefighter, first aid responder, turned pastor. Plus, Bobby C. He steps into the room. He has the latest in the world of sports. And then finally, we'll hear from a doctor who has vital information our parents, teachers, and students will want to know as school reopens this fall. All of this and more is headed your way because we are now wide open. Here we go. Hey everyone, I'm the Dr. Bob Lee for 107.5 WPLS. You're watching Open. It's that live interactive program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV set. You can stay connected to us through social media at BronxNet TV. We've got it going on for you. In fact, leading things off, our first guest is a brand creative global digital health influencer. He's here to speak about the work that he is doing to create brand identity for the public health needs and to highlight the various initiatives he has launched. So please welcome to the show, Carl Lorenzo McIver. Carl, welcome. How are you?
Thank you, Dr. Bob Lee. It's such a pleasure to be able to meet you. I've known of your work ever since, I've been in Co-op City for over 20 years and I'm a fan.
Thank you. All right, so we hear a lot about you. What inspired your journey into the creative marketing and digital branding space?
Well, for many years, I've always been interested in design and creative. And I've worked for many of the hospitals in New York City, designing and branding for basically most of the majority of hospitals. And later on, I decided that I wanted to start my own, little shop. So then we started doing design and creative, and now a transition has taken place to now looking for categories, not just trying to brand a different, businesses, but I feel that categories is so important because that's the way that people engage now. People engage more to things that could be able to help them, where they could be a part of it. And I feel that what I'm doing now could be able to lend itself to that.
Right. Categories. Explain that just a little bit more.
Okay, perfect example. You could take, let's say there's hundreds of sneaker companies, but when you develop a category, then now people are interested and they can understand the importance of a sneaker, and then they can decide on what specific detail that they need to satisfy their needs.
Yeah.
In medicine, it's no different. I'm dealing with bloodless medicine and surgery or blood management. That hadn't been a category in the past. You may have heard about it. It may have had some types of bad connotations only because of certain groups, Jehovah's Witnesses, which I'm one, they made requests to be able to have this type of innovation maybe 20, 30 years ago. But now the medical field is so advanced that it's time for the category to be created so people can make decisions not based on maybe religion or morals, or just based on just common good medicine and common good decision making.
How has this career in advertising that you started, and you were involved in marketing too, how has it influenced the new lane that you have traveled along this sector? How did you intersect all of this? How did you put it all together? How has it helped you?
Excellent question. I work for some of the largest ad agencies in New York, and I supported either doing production or sometimes doing creative. in life, it's so important to take all of your experiences and not only appreciate them, but grow upon them and remember them. Because as you grow older in life, and that one project or that one devotion that you have heartfelt, you take all that experience and all those tools and you combine them together. And that's what's happening here. I couldn't have done this 20 years ago. I don't think I was prepared. I didn't have the knowledge. But now I've done creative, I've designed posters, I've designed album covers, I've worked in movies. So this is a culmination of really life's work. So it wasn't just a couple of years. You're looking at everything I have and putting it into one bucket.
And now you have put it all together and you created like some global initiatives that I think you're going to share with us, right? What are the goals of these initiatives, and what should people know about the metaverse?
Excellent question. The metaverse is so new for everyone. Trying to define its usage is something that even the larger companies are trying to contend with. Now, since it's in its infancy, that gives everyone, including myself, you don't have to be a large company, but an ability to put down a stake. Now, it's our responsibility as people, whether it's cultural, whether it's global, to say to ourselves, I want to do what I can to make a stake on this metaverse. Now, you may not understand it in detail, but then that's where the innovation comes in.
Yeah.
It's our responsibility to find a usage for it. We have the gift. You open the gift. Now you have to find, how does it apply to me? How does it apply to my neighbors? How does it apply globally? And that's what I tried to do. I looked at nurses. The nursing field has been so downtrodden and never is given the respect it deserves. So that's why I created digital nursing, because I realized that as time goes on with telemedicine, telehealth, and that's global, by the way, those terms have gone global. We're going to need something, a stamp or emblem or icon that will differentiate just, and I don't mean just disrespectfully, but the nurse have been doing nursing for all those years until now with the new digital environment we're going into.
It sounds interesting. It sounds promising too. And people, they can go online. Is that a part of telehealth and everything?
Telehealth is it's a new term that the globe is trying to understand, because could it mean just you calling your doctor, your doctor communicating with you? Yes, that does. But now I've also developed what you call teleport scanning. Teleport scanning.
You're into a lot of stuff, man.
Dr. Lott, we don't have that much time on Earth. So
no. We have to give you
so we want to do it while we can.
Yeah.
Teleport scanning, I looked at as now a way that information can be given to a doctor pre-meeting the patient. So now the doctor has information and data so that when they do that telemedicine or that telecall, they'll have information that can actually now make the call shorter.
Yeah.
Make it more important. And then they could be able to decide upon their meds accordingly. All
right. So I like that. We're going to bring you back so we can, talk more about that. But I need you to hit me off with the information on your new doc. Can you replace a broken heart? And then give me some information as to where to go before we wrap it all up.
Okay. Now, LinkedIn is the perfect social media avenue for that we're doing right now. This documentary is on a person that had a full heart transplant without a drop of blood.
Whoa. Yeah.
Now, here's what makes this amazing. I have to get this in. There's only 2 areas in the United States thus far that can handle this surgery. Guess where one of the places reside?
Where?
Borough?
You got
the Bronx.
Seconds to wrap the whole thing up. Where?
In the Bronx.
In the Bronx. Boogie down PX.
In the Bronx. So I like everyone. Our trailer is being shown in LinkedIn. You can find me, Carl Lorenzo McIver. Google me. I'd be happy to speak to anyone regarding this, because this is the first time that a documentary of this nature is going to really show awareness globally.
I like it. Carl Lorenzo McIver, brand creative, global digital health influencer. We appreciate you. Thank you. And you got to come back.
Please invite me. I'll come.
Okay. We'll take a quick break right here. We'll come back and give you some more good information right here on Open. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
TV news, radio reports, and newspaper headlines in the 1970s and 80s misrepresented communities in the borough of the Bronx. Then, something transformative happened. By, for, and about the Bronx, BronxNet was born.
BronxNet provides media education,
Opening the doors to competitive careers in the media industry
for thousands of students in middle school,
high school,
and college. BronxNet.
Welcome back. Our next guest is a cancer survivor. She joins us to speak about what her experience was like going through cancer treatment and to emphasize the importance of men and women getting screened for colorectal cancer. So please welcome to the show, Michele Battista. Michele, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I know your mantra is, I had cancer, but cancer never had me. Explain that.
So I went for that colonoscopy at 50 on my own. My doctor didn't recommend, anything. And I had no symptoms going in. I woke up from anesthesia and the gastroenterologist said, you have cancer. And, it was just heart-rending. So I was into this for the fight. I'm somebody who never plays odds. I'm not a betting person. At the time I was volunteering with the Ashley Lauren Foundation, which raises money for children and their families suffering with cancer to pay bills, etc. And I had asked for a recommendation from her and she had recommended UPenn. My doctor here at Red Bank Gastro in New Jersey had actually done his residency at UPenn, so had called the director of gastroenterology and got me an appointment with the surgeon on March 1st, Dr. Mahmood, and I got the warm fuzzy from her, and surgery went off. You kind of hope that it's just local in where they take out from your colon and do a resection, but unfortunately for me it had spread to the lymph nodes, so I was stage 3 and had to do 12 rounds of chemo. Chemo's the gift that keeps giving. And I had a really wonderful oncologist at UPenn, and we, as I called it, tweaked my chemo cocktail till chemo 6, trying to minimizing side effects. Finished my last chemo on September 13th, 2012. And within 1 week, I started with chemo-induced peripheral neuropathy. You kind of think you're going to get back to normal, the old you.
Yeah.
And you're slapped silly in the face with, something new, which is when I discovered the Colorectal Cancer Alliance. They had daily chats to ask questions about, how to manage symptoms. And
Well, what was something new? It was a symptom that you didn't have before, or when you thought you were going back to
24/7 hand and feet tingling. When you have pins and needles when your hand falls asleep.
Yeah.
24/7, that in my hands and my feet. It was horrible.
And that was due to the cancer treatment, or?
Yes, yes, exactly. And normally people will get it during the treatments. I was lucky I didn't. I got it afterwards, which, it blindsided me, because I said, you finish, you think you're going to snap back, and, but it's minimized. I have it for life. It's, I can't stay on my feet for more than a couple of hours without getting uncomfortable, but I'm a now 10-year survivor.
All right. God bless you.
So
Congratulations.
yeah, that was back in March. I consider my cancerversary the date of surgery. Everybody has a different idea. The date you were diagnosed is sometimes the cancerversary, which for me,
I've never heard that before. Cancerversary.
yeah, cancerversary. It's, it's when you consider a monumental feat. For me, 1 year was pretty amazing getting there. At the time, without doing chemo, my chance of 5 years surviving without remission was only 50%.
Yeah.
With chemo, it only went up to 70%, which
Yeah.
is not
mentioned
great.
Doctor saved your life twice?
Dr. Boyle saved my life twice. Back in 1987, I basically stopped absorbing food, and he diagnosed me after 10 days in a hospital with celiac disease, which is the allergy to gluten.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, before World Wide Web, there wasn't a lot, and gluten fad like it is today was nothing back then.
You probably heard about gluten, but you didn't know much about it at the time. But now it's all over the place.
Yeah, and so many foods are gluten-free by design now. Back then they weren't.
Yeah.
So yeah, Dr. Boyle saved my life twice. Because basically, my cancer was close to causing an obstruction in my bowels, and I would have landed in the ER if I hadn't done the colonoscopy.
Yeah. What do you recommend to people? Because you said you never had symptoms.
I had symptoms of colon cancer are, irregular bowels, blood in the stool, you're anemic, tired. I had none of those. And in fact, after, I woke up and, the doctor said, you got to get blood work, you got to get a CAT scan, and you got to see a surgeon ASAP. I went and did the blood work, and there's a marker for colon cancer. Mine was normal. It didn't even show that I had it. I wasn't anemic. All my blood levels were fine. Yes, the CT scan did show the mass in my colon. But it's the silent killer, basically, and that's why they have since dropped the screening age from 50 to 45, because the under 50, the numbers of people being diagnosed are higher now, for whatever reason, the state of the world, etc. So they're trying to bring down the screening age to 45. It's now accepted by most of the insurance companies. Maybe if I had gotten my screening at 45, my cancer would have only been a precancerous polyp, and it would have only been the colonoscopy and not surgery for the resection and 12 rounds of chemo over 6 months.
Now, is there a history of colorectal cancer in your family?
No, I was the first person, and to my mother, it was very hard for her. To her, I was dying, and
Wow.
and she's a person of faith, and she went to my local parish where I grew up, and had me on the prayer list and got a cross blessed for me to wear during my whole 6 months of chemo and stuff. But but she was behind me, supporting me, but at first it was very hard for her, because I was the first person in the family to get diagnosed.
Yeah.
So now my son has to get his colonoscopy. It's recommended at the age of 35, because usually it's 10 years prior, but my gastro doctor said because I had it at least 5 to 10 years, it's a very slow growing cancer. My son should get his first colonoscopy at 35.
Yeah.
Because the chance of hereditary with colorectal cancer is high.
Now, you mentioned irregular bowel movements. How did that feel? How did that look? Explain that.
So usually if there's a change in bowel habits, you go a lot more frequently, or it's thin and stringy kind of, I didn't experience that. I was a regular, and still to this day, I'm a regular person, but the, UPenn, where I went for my colorectal surgeon, has a very good website, and even like basically the American Cancer Society. I do a lot of volunteering work with the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, ccalliance.org. They have a lot of information out there on how to treat it. It's you got to listen to your body. I mean, mine wasn't saying anything. It was just, I knew getting a colonoscopy at 50 was one of those things, and I'm glad I did it. And then basically, my husband, who's the same age as me, basically, he went and got one shortly thereafter. And, there was a precancerous polyp, so he was safe with just the colonoscopy and then a follow-up colonoscopy. And he's fine. But I got
how important is it for women, especially women of color, to get themselves screened for colorectal cancer?
Especially for women of color and even men. It's one of the facts of colorectal cancer, which is the second leading cause of cancer deaths, that it in proportionately affects the African Americans. And
Yeah.
so getting the word out. Like I said in my bio that I said to you, Chadwick Boseman, died at the age of 43. And I'm sure that had an effect on getting people out there. Craig Melvin from the NBC Today show, when his brother passed away at the age of 43 also. Craig Melvin is now a big proponent within the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, running events to raise awareness, to raise money.
Do you have something coming up to raise money and create the awareness of colorectal cancer?
So the Colorectal Cancer Alliance has what they call now the Walk to End Colon Cancer. They have several of them throughout the country. There is not one in New York, but the Jersey Shore Walk to End Colon Cancer is on September 24th. The walk starts at 9 a.m. I am going to be actually the opening ceremony survivor speaker this year.
And what are you going to tell people there? What advice do you have for anyone going through colorectal cancer treatments?
You need a support person. My husband and son were phenomenal to me during that time. Chemo whooped my butt. I was barely functioning. My husband would make like cornbread in the morning the day after I started chemo to try to entice me to eat because it would ruin your appetite. My son would help after surgery, I couldn't even get out of bed. I had to text my son, could you help me get up, please? And he was a sophomore at Virginia Tech. He was home. He left right before his spring break to come home early to be home for my surgery. He's a phenomenal person. He's now out in the workforce, married, expecting a baby by year end. So I'm going to be a grandma.
Good, grandma. All right.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
But my mantra is, I had cancer, it never had me. I fought it like heck when I was going through chemo, and the side effects took me blindsided.
Yeah.
But I fought through it. And I'm always about raising awareness. So when the Colorectal Cancer Alliance has an event nearby, I used to do stuff at Monmouth Medical for National Survivor Day. I've done events up at Liberty State Park for them with Hackensack Meridian.
Is this on your website? This is on your website?
I mention it. I don't really have a website myself. On my personal fundraising page, I kind of mention what I'm, how I'm raising awareness.
What is what is that page?
So it's impact.ccalliance.org/mybatista.
Okay. We'll post that up here too.
Thank you. Yeah, I sent that via Phyllis. And I also, with Red Bank Gastro, which is where I go for my colonoscopies, they also do fundraising events at a local grocery store across the street from their offices to raise awareness. March is Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. And just, also they announce there's ways to get a free colonoscopy if there's symptoms. There's, also Cologuard is now a fecal test to try to find colon cancer, because many people don't like the idea of talking about getting a colonoscopy. They don't want to have something stuck up their butt. And really, it's nothing. Yeah, the prep is a little ugly and stuff, but I've had many at this time in my life. I have to go every 3 years for life.
But listen, thank you so much for sharing. We're gonna have to do a hard wrap right here. Thank you for sharing, and God bless you. You've come through a whole lot, but now you're going to be a grandma and you're a cancer survivor.
Yeah.
All right.
10 years.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Yes. All right.
So,
Michele Battista, colorectal cancer survivor. We'll take a break right here. I've got more coming up next on Open.
We built a media network for you.
BronxNet TV.
Come learn in your new state-of-the-art studios at Lehman College.
At Mercy College. And coming soon to the South Bronx in the Hub.
Inspire with your stories, culture, history.
Your Bronx on BronxNet.
Engage with us.
Connect with us at your channels and at BronxNet.tv. Learn, engage, inspire. BronxNet TV. From the Bronx
to the world.
BronxNet.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm the Dr. Bob Lee, and our next guest is a retired firefighter and 9/11 first responder. He's with us today to speak about his experience as a first responder on that dreadful day and to shed some light that he and his wife are doing with their church. So please welcome to the show, Pastor Sidney Martin. Pastor, welcome.
Hi, good morning, Bob. Thank you for having me.
Fellow first responder, thank you. Nice to be able to talk to you. I know that was a tough day. Did you start responding back then, or you were doing this work before that, before 9/11?
Well, I got on the job right out of college. 1982, I came on the job. I was also in the first World Trade Center explosion.
Whoa. Yeah.
And I just was retired out the job. They put me out the job right before 9/11, but I was down there on my way to the firehouse to hang out, and I wound up getting to the scene pretty quickly that day.
Yeah. That was a terrible experience. I was watching right from where I am right now. I was filing a report. I think it was the preliminaries. So everybody was talking about that. They were voting that morning, and I was covering people getting responses from the train stations and bus stops. And I came up here to put it all together, and I was sending it across, and it didn't go. And I was wondering what was going on. So I leaned back. I said, after my third try, I said, "Oh, shoot." I said, "Oh, shoot, Pastor."
Yeah. All right.
Oh, shoot. And then I look over to my left. I could see the Twin Towers and, of course, the Empire State Building in the city.
Mhm.
I looked over to my left, and I said, "Oh, my God, there's a fire." And I thought maybe a small plane hit it, but you know the whole story. I watched the whole thing fall down, everything right from here. But how was that experience for you that day?
It was well, nothing ever like that has happened before. So none of your training really has prepared you for it.
Yeah.
There's a certain feeling in your gut that this is different. A lot of people called their children. I remember calling my babysitter and saying, take care of my kids.
Yeah.
I happened to have been going through a divorce at that time. So it was a dark time in my life. But actually saying goodbye to your children. And so it was a rough time because we've always been in those buildings. A lot of times we knew some of our radios didn't work because of all the interference and everything in the building. There's something about 70,000 people running out of the building and 300 guys running into the building.
Yeah.
So when people run out, we run in. The weight of the equipment. There was a look. A lot of times the truck is quiet, and usually the officer, he may bang on the window. So I'm like, we got one. This isn't a car accident. This isn't something that we consider maybe routine. A car on fire. This is something.
Yeah.
So when your officer, hey, let's get ready.
Yeah.
And the other thing, Bob, was that the time of the event was before the day tour started. Our day tour starts at 9 a.m. So the night tour was still there. And the guys coming on in the morning were there also. So in my unit, in the hazmat unit, which is a special unit, both tours jumped on the trucks. So, that's why so many guys perished, especially in my unit. But everybody responded.
How has that day impacted your life? Are you dealing with PTSD or anything like that, or your family, your wife?
Well, yes. It took me a lot of years to be able to say that. A lot of years and some therapy. Bob, our culture, we don't go to seek help for our head. We don't go to counseling. That was something that rich people do. People in California. I'm going to go see my therapist. In those times in my neighborhood, you couldn't say, "Yo, man, hey Bob, I gotta run, man. I gotta go see my therapist." That just didn't jive in our neighborhood, in our culture.
Yeah.
Our therapy was, brown juice and whatever other vices we were going to use.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it did affect me. It took me a couple of years to get therapy. I didn't believe in PTSD. I'm an old school guy. Everybody got a problem. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yeah.
And go on.
No, these are things that present serious problems. I mean, I was down there. I was dealing with it, and then the physical problems you have with breathing all these years. I did a report, and at the end of the report, I said, we're going to be worried about the direction of the wind in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And then COVID comes out, and somebody coughs down here. You're like, whoa, which way is that blowing? So you always got to be worried about the direction of the wind. Now, you're also a man of faith with your own church.
Yes.
Can you briefly tell us about your Destiny House Christian Center?
Well, my wife is the senior pastor, Apostle Dr. Pepper Martin.
All right.
So
Big
she's Dr. Pepper. And she started the church, and I got brought right on in it. Unbeknownst to me, Bob, I've been prepared that there's a dialectic between being the husband and the man not being the senior pastor.
Yeah.
My wife is called. My wife has a gift. I do also, but my gift is men's ministry. I was a cameraman. I was involved in media and editing, and so my wife really married with benefits.
Yeah.
But she is a true woman of God. I was fortunate that God brought her into my life.
Yeah.
Like I said previously, I'd gone through a divorce. I was a single dad for quite a few years, and I met her by accident. I was a cameraman in another very well-known church for a well-known pastor, and she helped start that church with the pastor, and she was in it. And she had also gone through a traumatic public divorce, and the rest is history. But
yeah, well, hey, God is good
all the time,
and all the time.
God is good. Yes, sir.
Do you have any upcoming events coming up that we should know about?
Yes, well, we do have a clothing drive coming up in 2 weeks on the 17th.
Uh-huh.
We have a lot of clothes away for people preparing for work. We also have another one of our sub ministries in the church is called From Here to There. We work with a lot of foster kids that have aged out the system. Bob, at 18 years old, when you age out the system, your life isn't even started. You remember back at 18, you thought you knew everything, but you don't know anything yet. So you 24, 25, you 30 years old, and that's when life really hits you. So From Here to There is a program that we have that we try to hold the hands of. They're not youth, but they're young adults, and they haven't experienced life yet.
You have to, because that adolescent stage is something else. The kid wants to go and do what he wants to do, wants to be a man or woman, but not ready yet. That's why the parent is still very, very, very important, or the guardian, or somebody who's helping to guide them in the right direction. Pastor, we thank you. Give us a website, because they're going to give me a hard rap, but you're always welcome to come back. You know that. It's
dhcc.church is our website. We're also on Facebook at Destiny House Christian Center. We're also on Twitter and YouTube. And I can be reached at electman@dhcc.church.
Well, thank you for all that you do, First Lady or First Man. I'm just going to throw it out. Thank you guys for everything that you do. When you get out there, you roll up your sleeves, you take care of our community. We love you for it. We praise you for it. God is good all the time, and you know it. And all the time, God is good.
Bob, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having us, and we hope to see you soon.
You got it. All right, there you have it. Sidney Martin, 9/11 first responder and pastor. We'll take a quick break. And Bobby C., he's up next. He has the latest in the world of sports. Coming up next, right here on Open.
In the sports corner with us this morning, Jets all-time great Marty Lyons. Marty, welcome to the Bronx. How are you?
Thank you, Bobby. It's a pleasure to be with you.
It's so great to see you. I know you're still doing big things on and off the field. We want to get a chance to catch up with you this morning and speak a little bit about your foundation and, of course, the Jets' upcoming season. I figured I might start there because I know the fans at home are excited for the prospects of Gangrene being better than they have been. And we all know that they have the longest playoff-less drought in the league. Will this be the year that turns around, Marty?
You know what, Bobby, I think everybody's optimistic that they can turn it around. I think the biggest thing the Jets have to do is they have to start fast. And now that you have Zach Wilson, he's going to be out for the first 3 games. You got Joe Flacco in there. I think you have a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball, but they didn't get a lot of opportunities because there's only 3 preseason games. I think they took 20 snaps. But I have a great deal of confidence in Joe Flacco. I'm for the older guys. I think that, 15 years in the league, he went to the Super Bowl. He was the MVP of that Super Bowl. I think he's capable. But they have to play. They have to build the chemistry. And, they haven't won a game in the month of September since 2018. So if you're going to start fast, no better place to do it than at home against Baltimore.
And I think, in terms of optimism, Marty, Jet fans are most excited about the playmakers that they brought in, especially in the draft. I think on paper, the Jets had an extremely good draft.
Well, they really did. And, I was very impressed with their 4th round pick, Michael Clemens out of Texas A&M. That guy's motor was, full speed. And as Coach Salah says, all gas, no brake. He took it to heart. I think Jermaine Johnson is going to be a valuable asset. Breece Hall, he's an outstanding running back. And then you got Sauce Gardner. He's going to start as a rookie. He's going to match up there one-on-one. They're saying that he could be the next Darrelle Revis. Those are pretty big shoes to step into. But if you have the talent, then you have that expectations. You're going to put a little bit more pressure on yourself, and either you're going to make it or you're not.
You were a former 1st-round pick for Gangrene. I mean, do you think the pressure that Zach Wilson is, because you know what this feels like, the pressure that Zach Wilson is going through to basically try to turn things around is something that isn't easy to do?
No, it's not easy to do, and it wasn't easy for me to do, coming from Alabama where we only lost 6 games in 4 years. They created a new position. It went from a 3-4 defense to a 4-3. So automatically they put me on the outside, which I kind of played out of position. I was more of a defensive tackle than defensive end. But expectations that you put on yourself, that you want to go out there and make the team better. But remember, you're only one player. And Zach has to remember that. He's only one player. So I think what they're doing with him at the beginning of the season is letting him develop a little bit more by watching the game. But the statement yesterday by Coach Salah, he's got to be physically ready, mentally ready, and emotionally ready to go back in. Because the worst thing that could happen, if this is your franchise quarterback for the future, you can't have him getting hurt a 3rd time in less than 2 years.
100%. For you, Marty, I guess you got to feel good about being with the organization for as long as you've been, because it shows obviously longevity. And I mentioned at the top of our interview just how great of a player you were at that time. For me growing up, I got a chance to watch you play, but I think the younger kids get a chance to hear you obviously on the radio. Can you speak a little bit about, transcending through the period of time and being with the organization for so long? In 1979, that's a long time.
Yeah, Bobby, 42 years. I've been very blessed. And, to be surrounded by good people that, I came in 1979. I retired in 1991 as a New York Jet. I did some of their TV for Jet Journal. And I've been blessed to be up there in the booth with somebody like Bob Wischusen, who is so talented. He makes my job easy. But anytime that you have that, surround yourself with good people, good things happen. And I'm just blessed that the organization still has confidence in me, and I have confidence, I always will have confidence in the New York Jets. They've been my number one supporter for the foundation since 1982. And it seems like we have a great working relationship, and there's a lot of trust. I think if there's anything that the younger generation needs to understand is to be successful in life, you need to build trust, whether the trust is between you and your employer, between you and your best friend. One day it's going to be between you and your spouse, you and your kids. You have to have trust. And that's the one element that I think I've been blessed with friends and the Jets.
I know for you that in terms of career highlights, it's everything from the playing career, but also everything that you've been able to accomplish off the field. And just, again, for the fans at home, in terms of like playing highlights, I think it's notable to tell everyone about being the Defensive Player of the Year in college. And then, of course, getting into the College Football Hall of Fame on the first ballot, which a lot of players don't get the opportunity to do, playing your entire career with the Jets, being part of that memorable New York Sack Exchange. You mentioned Man of the Year in 1984. The team ends up creating the Marty Lyons Award, something they've been able to do annually to honor the players that have been doing big things off the field with the community. And then, Chris and I and BronxNet, we were there when you got inducted into the Ring of Honor in 2013. Just a tremendous amount of special moments. Is there one thing for you in terms of playing career that stands out the most?
Well, you know what? I was very fortunate. I spoke at a couple of high school football games last week, and all those are stepping stones. All those are reminders that, you've been blessed. You've had teammates, you've had family members, you've had that total support, the coaches that believed in you before you believed in yourself. All those awards I shared with everybody that, my name might have been on the awards, but their name could have been on there too, and it should have been. And I told the kids down there, I said, one award that goes unnoticed is in 1978, we were playing Penn State for the national championship. And all during the year, Coach Bryant would appoint a captain for the offense, a captain for the defense. But as we got ready to go into that national championship game, it was always a tradition at Alabama for the team, the players to vote for the captains on defense and on offense. And to me, being voted by my teammates as a captain of the 1978 national championship team, along with Jeff Rutledge and Tony Nathan on the offensive side, that means a lot, because those are the guys you went to work with every day. Those are the guys that, when you're in a leadership role, they believe in your words, they hold you accountable. And that is the award that goes unnoticed to a lot of people. But to this day, it means a great deal that I can look back and say, hey, you know what? My teammates believed in me also.
That's a great story, Marty. You speak of iconic names, Bear Bryant, obviously, I know has been so important in your life. Coming into this interview this morning, there was one person I did want to ask you about, because I know he was in the radio booth when you were playing at that time, and it's a Bronx boy and Marty Glickman. Any thoughts about Marty? Because I know you guys have been able to kind of keep that tradition going.
Bobby, it's ironic. When I first started doing college games in, I think it was 1991, I would meet with Marty the next day after we did a game, and we were doing them for MSG or Cablevision, and we would go into a meeting and we would watch it over. And Marty was so good. He goes, I know what you're trying to say here, but it's not the right way of saying it. So, what? He cared about the future. He took time when he didn't have to sit and meet with me and say, hey, you know what? This is the way it's got to, be portrayed, especially on TV, because on TV, you don't have to talk a lot because the viewers get to see the game. On radio, Al Troutwig from MSG gave me the best advice. He said, pretend you're talking to a blind person, paint the canvas. It may not be right, but as long as you can paint it where the listeners can understand that the runner is going to the right and this is happening, that's happening, they can start to visualize it as they're listening to it. It goes, that's what you have to do for radio. So again, being surrounded by good people, having thick skin and understanding if you want to stay in a career, take advice from the people that have been there before you and have been successful. Don't take corrective criticism, because nobody's going to come out of the blocks and be perfect.
That was part one of our interview with Jets legend Marty Lyons. We'll continue the conversation this Friday on Open.
Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Bob Lee. Welcome back. Our next guest is an emergency medicine physician and co-founder of the Three Doctors Foundation. He's here to speak about the work that he is doing with his foundation, his organization, and to highlight the ways students, teachers, and parents can protect themselves from the monkeypox virus. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Sampson Davis. Doc, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Always a pleasure. Great to be back on with you there, Dr. Bob.
Always a pleasure to see you too. Like I said, I got that crystal waiting for you. Make the great honoree, but you do so many wonderful things. You have your own foundation with the Three Doctors. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the Three Doctors Foundation, there's three of us. There lies the name Three Doctors Foundation, but the three of us, we made this unconventional pact to become doctors, back in 1990s. And we went through high school, college, and medical school together. We became physicians in 1999, and in 2000, as residents, we just decided to get back to the community. So we formed the Three Doctors Foundation, and we started to do programs within the inner city communities, things focused on health, education, leadership, and mentoring. And we just recently celebrated our 22nd year, which is astonishing to think that we've been around that long, and that I am that old.
I remember when you first started, we did something in Newark, New Jersey. I think it was one of your first galas or a gathering. And I said, wow, the Three Doctors. And we were hanging out, and I got a chance to meet you guys. And I really, really enjoyed all the wonderful things that you're doing in our community. And, that's my passion too. I'm a community guy, and I see what you're doing, and I really, really admire everything that you're about. So you're doing that. But listen, speaking of schools and education and everything, it's back to school time. And a lot of people are worrying about different viruses. And another big one that's out there, what seems to be getting bigger and bigger, is monkeypox. Everybody said, what the heck is monkeypox?
Yeah.
And why do we have to worry about monkeypox? What is that? Give us a little overview of what it's all about and why we should be concerned about it.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, monkeypox is a scary virus. It's something that has been in existence forever. It was eradicated, and pretty much we've seen sort of the presence of it disappeared pretty much in 1980. The virus was eradicated. Very prevalent in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, but with the vaccine, the virus was eradicated and it disappeared, and now has made a resurgence or reappearance. So when we say viruses are eradicated, like polio and measles, it doesn't mean that they're gone. It's just that the infectivity of the spread of the virus is not any longer happening. But the virus is still present in the universe. So this virus has now once again reappeared and taken advantage of the bodies. Monkeypox is similar to like the chickenpox virus, like your zoster, herpes zoster, or we call it zoster rash, or shingles, I should say, probably is the better term. So like the shingle virus, your chickenpox virus, monkeypox is in that sort of same family, and it causes these large pimples and lesions on your body. The challenge with monkeypox, as we go back to school, is that you can pick up the virus, but the rash can appear, or it may take up to 2 to 3 weeks to appear. So between picking the virus up and the appearance of the rash, you are still considered contagious. So you can have no symptoms, or you can have fever, body aches, all what we call flu-like symptoms, and spread the virus. And then the lesions appear 2 weeks later. And at that time, obviously, you have something.
Is that the only
from
symptom, the lesions?
the lesions is the more of the physical appearance, but the symptoms are flu-like symptoms. So everything you get with the common cold or flu: body aches, fever, chills, headaches. You may have sore throat, congestion. So it seems like your common cold or your flu. And I mean, to add that now, as we go back to school, to what we have in place with coronavirus and with common colds and with just the flu itself, this is another sort of item in the bag, if you will, that we have to be concerned about.
So how is it transmitted?
So it's unique. It's not as easily spread as something as a common cold, right? It's not as easily spread as the coronavirus, where you and I can be 6 feet apart. You yell my name, I say hello back to you, and we transmit coronavirus. Yeah, with this, it's a few ways. So one is direct skin to skin contact, right? So if you have a lesion or a pustule or pimple that's a monkeypox, and you rub it against, somebody else's hand by shaking their hand, or by hugging them, you can spread the virus. It can exist and live on items that you touch. So if you touch a doorknob with your lesion, with the monkeypox lesion on your hand, I come along and I touch it, I can pick it up that way. And close contact respiratory droplets, meaning like not far distance, but if you and I are having a very close conversation on an airplane or a train ride or a bus ride, we can spread it that way. We have seen an increase, and we don't know exactly why. It's more prevalent currently today in the LGBTQ community. We've seen an increase in the lesions and the rash. And a lot of that has to do with the areas that we see affected the most are sexual areas of the body, that we see an increase in the lesions itself. Why is it more prevalent in that community versus general population? We don't quite know as of yet, but at the same time, the scientists are studying to see, is this more of a sexual transmitted issue, or is it, but we do know that everyone can get it. So it's not only isolated to a specific community. So I don't want to leave that unclosed or not spoken about and fully. It doesn't matter your preference. Everyone can pick up this virus. No one is immune to it.
Doc, tell us, you work in the ER. Who are you seeing mostly? What type of cases are coming into you?
It's changed. I mean, it's everything is cyclical, and everything is sort of depending on what is present in society, right? So at one point a year ago, it was all coronavirus, all coronavirus cases and everything of that nature. That pendulum has sort of switched now, and so it swung over to the other side. So we still see corona cases, virus cases, but we still seeing a lot of situations as it relates to now appendicitis, heart attacks, strokes. All that is still there. We weren't seeing many of those cases, and not that they weren't happening, they were happening. People just was refraining going to the hospital, and unfortunately a lot of people sat home and lost their lives because they were scared to go to the hospital because of coronavirus. But now we're still seeing those cases, and that's always going to be somewhat the backbone or the bread and butter of emergency medicine, which I practice. Now we're starting to see, though, a huge increase in mental health issues as it relates to depression, anxiety. There's post-traumatic stress that has happened here as well from coronavirus. We're seeing a lot of substance abuse. My goodness, I mean, there's a lot of people because of the social isolation and the work from home model started happy hour at 11 a.m. and they continue to drink. So we see an increase in alcohol abuse and substance abuse as it relates to the pandemic and social isolation, mental health. And then also just preventable diseases. So a lot of patients did not go for their mammogram, did not go for their colonoscopy, did not go for their blood sugar screening or their annual physicals. And so those individuals that were in that gray area they were missed, and now they have the active disease process. So now they have colon cancer. Now they have, breast cancer, unfortunately. So we're seeing a lot of disease prevalence that we didn't see as heightened as once before. And unfortunately, life expectancy has gone down instead of going up, which we have the technology which make life expectancy longer versus shorter.
Yeah. Do you think COVID-19, this is the last question, and I have so many more, but we need a whole hour because Doc, we can get into it. Do you see COVID-19 as exacerbating a lot of the diseases, the degenerative diseases that people are having or suffering from today?
No, absolutely. Yeah, great question. Absolutely. So COVID-19 is its own bucket. We saw life loss. Millions of people died from COVID just in itself. But then it also, the second bucket is it prevented people from going for their screening. So we see increase in cancers now. It prevented people from going for their stress tests, so increase in heart disease. Then you have those who are now suffered social isolation and increase in mental challenges because they didn't have anyone to talk to. We are a community that interact and touch and hug and speak and go out to dinner. And now if I live alone and I am in my own sort of silo, then I'm going to deal with everything that I'm dealing with by myself. And that social interaction went away. And then therefore, we see an increase in mental health challenges. And also, we've seen an increase in educational challenges. Our kids, can you imagine 6, 7 years old being told to sit in front of an iPad? I can't even do it in my 40s, So imagine a 6-year-old sitting in front of an iPad trying to learn. So there's an educational gap here that has been lost from academics and just social interaction from that youth group itself that we're seeing ramifications from now.
There's a whole lot going on. People are fighting in an airplane like 35,000 feet in the air. But, God is good. Hopefully we can get ahead on all of that stuff. And thank God for you and the 3 doctors for being in a position that you're in. You're able to help a whole lot of people. We appreciate you and we love you, Doc. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Lee.
All right. Doc, you have a website or how can we follow you?
Yes. My website is DR and first name, last name, Sampson, SAMPSON, Davis.com, DAVIS. And that's the same for my social media handles, Instagram, Facebook, DR Sampson Davis.
We appreciate you. Dr. Sampson Davis, emergency medicine physician and co-founder of the 3 Doctors Foundation. Love you, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today's show. We want to thank our guests for joining us and you, our viewers, for tuning in and checking it all out. You can see me over 107.5 WBLS, and I'll see you. We'll walk together, side by side, toe to toe, elbow to elbow. Yeah, we do the thing. We do it right over 107.5 WBLS. We want to thank our crew at BronxNet. Thank you for doing the things that you do. Always remember this: what you are is God's gift to you. What you make of yourself is your gift to God. To choose your choice. Let your choice control the chooser. I'll catch you another day, another way. I'm the Dr. Bob Lee. Love you all. Peace.